Guys, this is Dr. Dom. You can follow him. He's consistently posting great information for athletes about optimizing their body. And we're lucky enough to have him at Better at Beach, talking to our players and building some content for you. So if you have any questions after this about optimizing your body, what to do for injuries when, and basic imbalances and strengthening for beach volleyball, send those questions our way and we will be stoked to answer them for you.
With knees and knee pain, I definitely tell people if you're starting to have knee pain, it's usually not a knee issue. It's usually an issue through how we control through the hips when we're doing a lot of motions like jumping and landing, right? What I would encourage you to do is start doing a lot of single leg stuff, because when we're on a single leg, that starts to point out a lot of the instabilities throughout our knee. Notice where that knee tracks. A really good exercise that I like to show people just to promote good knee control is 4-way mini squats, where we are, and it's going to be a little tougher on sand anytime you're on an unsteady surface, but if you play on sand, let's train on sand. So little mini squats, and notice how that knee responds, how that knee tracks. And I try to tell people you want it to almost hit over the second to third toe. Then we go to the side, and we're gonna tap to the side. And you want to, especially when you're training in a controlled environment, have that knee track the same every time.
What do you mean by knee track?
So knee tracking is where our knee is going in relation to the foot. If you start doing these and you notice your knee is all over the place, that is our knee gaining mobility where our hip is struggling to control for it, right? And that's where you probably get a lot more pressure in that medial compartment. I also, very similarly, had a surgery on my right knee, similar things happening on my left one. So I just started doing a lot of different control exercises and then tapping behind to make sure that your knee is kind of tracking over that foot every time, not falling inside, not really rolling to the outside of the foot, just so that you get consistent in a controlled environment, so that when we jump and land on our knee in a game, imagine with all those distractions coming around when we're jumping from a different angle, we need to feel more confident with that knee controlling and decelerating our body in jumps. I would say same thing with different squat mechanics, but.
So then this would be okay. That's not good because it's pointing outside of my toes?
And now you're putting a lot more pressure onto the inside. You're stretching a lot of the lateral ligaments or the outside ligaments of the knee. Same when you go this way. This is a classic position for tearing a medial meniscus, for tearing an ACL, for tearing your MCL, right? Or straining, stretching those. So especially if we're doing a lot of jumps, even if we're on 2 feet, we're going to jump, land. Know where your knees are. Know that you can bring them to this very, comfortable, safe position rather than jump, land, right? It just looks, it looks painful.
Me as a trainer, yeah.
It looks painful. It's not bad if it happens in games, because sometimes we get out of our, safe zone and we need to make a play and we need to land. But the more your knees feel comfortable in controlling in that really safe, controlled environment, once we get on the court, they will just go right back there no matter what kind of stimuli are thrown at you. And then when you're training in the controlled environment, doing different things like having people toss you balls, hitting a ball against a wall and catching it, that can then bring you to a place where, yes, I'm doing this, but I'm distracted. My knee's acting odd. Even when I start doing this and fake doing different things, I can tell where my knee starts to move around a little more. So
if when they're squatting or lunging, if somebody just goes into a natural squat on their own or a natural lunge on their own, and then they see that this wants to happen, that this is comfortable for them, what should they do? One exercise that they should do.
So I tell people just in the squat, act like you're gonna tear a piece of paper front to back with your feet. See how that activates our hips here?
Yeah.
So just even doing that, standing there, bringing those knees in, act like you're gonna tear that piece of paper out, feel that activation in the hips. That's a great one.
Great.
Otherwise, if you had a band and you wanted to do side steps, I tell people put a band around the toes.
Around the
You're gonna
toes.
have a band around the toes and step to the side. What that's gonna do is try and pull that foot in. And in reality, you're gonna need to activate in the outsides of the hips to prevent it from rotating your leg.
Okay, so really high on the toes then.
Yep, so really high on the toes is gonna make it tougher. Right around the foot will be a little bit easier, but you'll still get that action trying to rotate the foot in. And then you need to control that through the hip. And again, always solid through the core, but just doing side steps like that and back is a good, real basic exercise to bring that back to. So if it's getting cold, if you do feel like you need to have some sort of compression, something around your knees to, one, keep them warm, but also promote some of that stability, I do think that's a great place to start. I do think using compression around the knees, I like doing it myself because of some old college football injuries, especially if I'm getting into a session of training or a bout of training that, okay, I haven't been training as much lately, now I'm getting into it. The compression really helps those knees feel safe. It helps them feel where they are in space a little bit better and can help keep them a little bit warmer per se. So starting with that to, again, promote some of that stability is great, and then going back to some of these knee exercises that we just went through to then promote that control and stability on your own would be my recommendation. Again, if you're in a cold environment and you take a 5-minute break, focus on some sort of active rest. That's gonna help you not cool down. Even if during your 5 minutes you're sitting there and doing some of your mini squat taps, or you're doing just like, you're just bouncing to keep the fluids flowing in the body, you're still gonna recover because you're not acting as intensely, but you're gonna still promote blood flow, still keep those knees warm. But compression's great, just know that it is more of a passive, outside, external stimulus, so finding a way to do that internally would be my recommendation.